Welcome to Fundraising Stories with Female Founders. I'm Julia Elliott-Brown, the founder and CEO of Enter the Arena. I'm a serial entrepreneur and an expert in raising investment and business growth. Our mission at Enter the Arena is to empower female founders to fly through pre-raise and investment and onto the exponential growth of their business with investment expertise and business coaching. Here we share the stories of inspirational female founders who've raised investment to inspire you to do the same. You'll hear their honest accounts of what it was really like to secure funding, the highs, the lows, and the challenges they experienced on the journey. And along the way, we'll discuss top tips for how you can be successful too. Today I'm speaking with Jennifer Lamb, the co-founder and CEO of Stitch & Story. Now, Stitch & Story is a digital crafts brand that's reinventing the traditional concept of knitting to inspire a whole new generation of hobbyists. Stitch & Story have DIY knitting and crochet kits, lots of great online content, and a social community which is built around the whole concept. Jennifer really has turned a kitchen startup into a global business, and that business has grown exponentially during lockdown as people have rediscovered their love of crafts. In fact, Stitch & Story grew over 800% in that period, which is really exciting stuff. Jennifer's a passionate supporter of female founders. She's an active representative of women in enterprise, and she sits on the all-party parliamentary group committee at the House of Lords. In 2017, Jennifer raised her first investment round of 125k from angel investors. Then in late 2019, she went on to raise £1 million from a venture capital firm who put in a further round of £1 million in 2020. So let's meet Jennifer and hear all about her fundraising story, the challenges she faced and the lessons she's learned along the way. So welcome, Jennifer.
Hi, Julia. It's really nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Lovely to see you. We're in yet another lockdown 3 here in the UK, which is
hopefully it's the last one.
let's hope. So right, let's go back to the beginning of the story of Stitch & Story, because I'm intrigued to know how you got into this whole idea in the first place. Are you a knitter?
So I wasn't when I started the business, interestingly. Well, I was actually starting my journey, and that kind of fueled the idea. So I'll go back to how it all started.
Yeah.
I was 24 at the time, and I was working in publishing, and my best friend and co-founder, she was 22 and in uni. And so when I graduated from uni and going into work, I realized that going into work, it was quite mundane. So my job was quite mundane, and I would come in and out, and I would fit in this neat little box of what you're responsible for, sort of no more, no less. And I had so much like pent up creative energy that just didn't know where to go for that. And so that feeling of accomplishment from doing something and sort of achieving something hard wasn't quite satisfied. So anyway, I decided to take up knitting. So I was like, yes, this looks interesting and it looks hard, so I'm going to give it a go. And then I realized that at that time, so this was 7 years ago, knitting and crochet and crafting itself was really seen as old-fashioned. It was a hard, it took me a long time to actually grasp the ideas of knitting, and so it was just like the terminology, the materials you had to get, it was just like a whole different world. But when I powered through and actually achieved my first scarf or my first hat, I realized like, this is great. That feeling of having done something with your hands and being able to share it with your loved ones and feeling proud, that feeling is so hard. And being a millennial, you're constantly on your screens and you're constantly doing anything digitally. So that kind of kicked off my passion of that feeling that was really hard. And when it came to gifting, there's nothing that's comparable to making something and giving it to someone and seeing that reaction that you've put in the time and the effort. So anyway, Jen had already, so she was in the creative so she was doing her creative degree. And so we would meet up and we would sort of in coffee shops and we'd knit, and people found that quite strange. but the idea really came when we realized that there was so much happiness from learning to knit. It's just cheaper, it's better than therapy. And so we really just took pride in learning a new skill and enjoying that thrill of making something literally from scratch. And sharing that. And so that's when I called Jen one night and I was like, do you want to start a business with me? Let's make crafting simple for our generation. Let's reinvent it so that it's so accessible, it's trendy, it's modern, and it's fresh. And so that's really how the business started.
I love that. Already you're making me want to take up knitting again. I remember my grandma taught me how to knit. And I used to do scarves and things like that. And I've tried to teach my daughter, but have failed, with creating these things with loads of holes in. And actually now I'm thinking, perhaps this is something that we should rediscover together. Fantastic. Mm-hmm. So that initial idea was, making knitting and crochet accessible to a younger generation. So what did you have to do to then get the business off the ground? And did it need a lot of funding at the beginning?
At the beginning, I didn't know where I was heading. I just had this passion, I had this why, and I wanted to go and solve something. So being so young and full of energy, we did everything. So we went to market stalls, we did trade shows, sort of bootstrapped, our business, and did everything we can on a really, really small budget. So at the beginning, we invested a little ourselves. I think it was just over £1,000, which brought our sort of very small amount of initial stock, which we sort of went to market with, and we designed sort of some crafts. At the time, we had no website. We just wanted to test, like, what is the appetite? Is my passion resonating with anyone else, or is it just me? And so we started workshops, and that's where it cemented the business, because we were doing the workshops, and every single week we were oversubscribed. We were running flat out every weekend, holding 30 students, and it was speaking to those people that really sparked the idea that we've got something here, we're solving something, because the people who came were just like us. They were in professional jobs. There was doctors and lawyers, there were people from all sorts of sort of paths, and they came to us for that same feeling I was describing of, they feel unsatisfied with, what they're going through in their life in terms of the creativity side. And it really sparked that idea of, actually, creativity is in all of us. We just need to nurture and bring that out. So that kind of fueled, so the initial funding of the very small sort of budget we had sort of validate that this is great, this is something to go for. And so since then, we pretty much grew by ourselves with selling, and then we launched a website and then sold online, and we grew organically for the early stages of the business.
Yeah. When did you start the business? So how many years did you have at that beginning bit where you were doing it all yourself?
So we started the business in 2013, and we then grew ourselves, but then we were hitting a wall in terms of there was so much strong demand and market pull that we couldn't handle it. Our team was tiny. So that's sort of kicked our decision to look for outside investment and to really scale the business to its full potential. And so in 2017, we looked for our first funding, which we raised through a few angels for £125,000.
Yeah, amazing. So let's talk about that first round then. So you decided you were going to go out and get some funding. Talk us through it. What did you do? Where did you go? How did you get those angel investors?
It was a funny story, because I wasn't actually actively looking for sort of investment funding. I knew I needed some sort of money to grow and scale, and I was looking at other areas like banks and loans. But it was actually just going out and speaking and feeling sort of like networking with others that we found an angel investor, Kelvin, and so he really took his time to understand the business. I mean, he wasn't sort of watching us from afar. You could see. And so I sat down with him and we had a meeting, and I was just intrigued. I mean, investment to me is completely new. So I asked him everything about it, and sort of seeing whether that suited Stitch and Story or whether that suited me. And it was really that conversation. It must have been like 3 hour long, that just sort of made me realize, yes, I want to scale the business at speed, and I want to do it with sort of outside investments such as an angel, to then go on to institutional investments.
Okay, that's really interesting. So Kelvin, was he or is he a sort of professional angel investor, or is he from your industry? Kind of, what was his?
Yeah. So he's a serial investor, and so he had invested in startups before. So it was really good because I could ask all of the questions I can without sounding silly. So I did all of that, and that really sort of just opened my eyes to what there was out there, and what potential to grow, how much potential I can grow my business. And so that really attracted me.
So he was in, and what was it like kind of getting the deal actually done? Because it's an interesting process. Often people go out for investment and they end up speaking to 30, 50, angel investors before they find one or two that are interesting. Very different experience for you. You were already talking to one person. Did you feel confident that you kind of found the right person, or did you think, I should go and shop this around with a few other people?
Yeah, I felt very confident with, he ended up becoming my mentor because he challenged me in ways where other people sort of didn't. So that meant he was challenging my budget, my way of thinking, in particular my mindset. And I think that's what really inspired me to go through that process. So in the early days, he was questioning everything, not in a bad way, but to really sort of do a 360 on your business and making clear if this is the route I wanted. So that included my responsibilities as a CEO when I grow, in terms of the team, as well as in terms of the strategy side. So he did more than just sort of helping me with the investment decks that is needed, the data room, and all of the preparations for a good raise. He also sort of brought my mindset to be on a same level playing field as a CEO would be expected to do, and the responsibilities there. So that was really, really great.
Yeah, mindset is, I think it's everything. It's everything. That confidence and belief in yourself and all that kind of stuff. Amazing. So for you, finding an angel investor was critical, not just for the money, but for the support and expertise that he brought for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, great. So £125,000, 2017. So where did that money take you? What did it allow you to do, Jennifer?
Yeah, so that money allowed us to firstly move our business from our homes. Funnily enough, we were
always quite nice.
We were still operating from our kitchens, and we were still in that bootstrap mentality. So with that raise, mindset is everything. We really sort of took that startup nimble approach where you're quite scatty in your approach. You just try everything and say yes to everything and see what comes back. To then actually, you've got this amount of money and it's a small amount. What can you do with it? How can you grow that and scale that to 3, 4, 5x, and be very wise with where you're spending? So we spent on our team members. So we grew the team. We hired additional 3 people at the start, and then the money really went into our sort of early on marketing sort of strategies, because we at that point we were growing all like organically and we had no marketing budget at all. So it was really just to test if the scalability was there through the marketing ideas we wanted to achieve with the money.
Great, fantastic. So, but I imagine, I know at the time when you raise that kind of money, you think, oh my God, that's loads of money. And then actually it kind of goes quite quickly, doesn't it?
It really does.
So at what point did you think, oh, maybe we need to go out and raise some more money? What was the pressure that was putting that on you?
I think it was the moment we actually received that £125,000. It really doesn't go far. And so when we were growing at 3x year on year. So there was so much demand. And with that, being a startup, cash flow is everything. But we had so many contracts that came our way, as well as the online business doing very well, that all of that required funding and working capital. So I guess I was really pressured because I knew that I needed that next raise, but I wanted to, at the same time, be very careful that I wasn't prematurely going for the second raise without me having built the foundation of the business yet.
Yes, timing is so critical, isn't it? It's that feeling that you kind of like, oh, I don't want to raise just yet because I want to have hit some more key milestones, but also that your cash runway isn't going to last you forever. It's very frustrating, isn't it? Just so many times this happens. You've just finished one raise, you think that, and then like, oh no, I've now got to think about my next raise. It's often a constant process, isn't it? Fundraising.
Yeah.
And who knows that when you start a business, you don't think I'm going to be spending most of my time raising investment.
No, it certainly didn't. And now all of my time is spending on sort of the investment side. And I spent most of my time on investment, but also on growing the team. So
yes, that's it. Your role very much transitions, doesn't it, from when you go from being a founder to being a CEO.
Yes, definitely.
So that next round, then you went out to seek a lot more money. So there was quite a lot going on for you at that time, wasn't there? Because you were quite heavily pregnant.
I was. So we had a lot of investors. I was speaking to a lot of meetings, and I remember when we were just about to secure the investor. So we went with Pembroke. They had a due diligence where they came to meet the whole of the team and sort of see sort of a typical day in the office. And so we had prepared a really big presentation, and I was I was 40 weeks pregnant at the time. And my team was terrified. They were like, don't stress, are you okay, like calm down, otherwise you might go into labor. But no, it was really great.
You must have been exhausted. So I mean, during that due diligence process, here's an interesting question. When you are 40 weeks pregnant, that's not something you can hide. Did you get how did you manage that? Were there questions around how you were going to manage things as a CEO?
Yeah, it was a really interesting experience, and I think that fueled later on my passion in sort of women in business and sort of doing the advocacy for female entrepreneurs, particularly when I did some reading on just how little, I think it was 2% of female entrepreneurs get to raise institutional investment, and I thought that was really shocking. But my own experience was that although I was super passionate going through my raise, so it didn't, in hindsight, I realized that the questions that were asked for me were quite related to because I was a female CEO. So those were sort of the prevention questions of what are you going to do? Or, it was always about historical proving data or proving myself. Then what is the vision? What is the ambition? But because I had so much confidence in myself and my business, I had went into the pitches talking purely on vision, and I guess that shaped the narrative and also the conversation. So I was able to steer the conversations away from, actually, I'm a female entrepreneur and I need to prove to you I can do this because I'm very heavily pregnant.
That's clever, and the fact that you sort of took ownership of that and drove the conversation in the way that you wanted it, I think that's definitely the way to go. It's hard, isn't it, sometimes to spot those questions that you get asked?
It is.
It's easy to get on the back foot.
Absolutely. I mean, it was my first time raising. I had no idea what typical questions look like. And so I was just trying to do the best I can. But it's only when you reflect back, you're like, oh, why did this certain investor ask me this question in this way?
Mm.
So that was very challenging, I would say.
Yeah. And did you, and I mean, you must have had a lot on your plate. So you've already got a growing team and you're pitching for this VC funding. And, did you have good support at home to help you manage the fact that you're going to have this new baby and everything?
Yeah, I mean, I was going through, I guess I was nervous because being a first time mom, I had doubts in my head. I was like, I've got this passion for the business and, I care so much and deeply about, what I'm doing there. But at the same time, I didn't want to, to lessen the responsibilities of being a mom or, being sort of the feelings of inadequacy just because I want both. And so my husband and my mom supported me the most through that emotional mindset. I mean, my husband's great. He pushes me, constantly. And I remember a conversation I had, and I was like, telling him, oh, I'm going to have to. I've got so much responsibilities now, being a new mom, as well as responsibilities for my team, and he really gave me a different perspective. He was like, Jen, I did not marry you to put food on the table, and this was 7 years. We've been married for 7 years. Like all those limiting beliefs I had of myself and what I expected of myself as a mother or as a as a family member was all from me. And I realized nobody had that expectation of me. It was just I was self-doubting myself, and I was putting those expectations really high of myself in all areas of my business. All areas of my life. So that really sort of changed my mindset. And similar with my mom, I had the other side where I went to my mom and I was like, okay, I am in full term now and I'm still working, but I want to. I feel healthy, I'm okay, but I feel like people are judging me. And she was like, are you healthy? Can you walk? Can you speak? And I was like, yes. She's like, then do it. And don't care about what anyone else says. You do you, because you know your body and you know your mindset of how far you can go. And so it was just really having those sort of emotional support around me that really helped me navigate this sort of new change.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, we judge ourselves so much more harshly than others do.
We do.
We can't do everything. Did you, I mean, I want to come back to this investment deal in a minute, but did you manage to take some maternity leave once you'd had the baby?
I would say no. I often call it a baby pit stop,
Okay.
but I was okay because so during the first year, I had enormous amount of help. I had a cook, I had a cleaner, I had a childminder, I had my husband working from home. I had a whole village helping me, so I felt like I could do both, and so it didn't feel too much of a loss because I could still spend time with the baby and I was working from home. So it was a good balance.
Yeah, that support network's so important, isn't it? And I think that's another thing. Once you've got some funding on board and you're in a position where you can pay yourself as a founder, it does open up the opportunity to bring in resources to help you. So
Absolutely.
another really good reason for going out, getting funding. Not the only reason, but I think to make it work for you as a founder, because if it doesn't work for you as a founder, what's the point?
Yes,
Really.
strongly agree.
So let's go back to that round then. So I want to know, did you just speak to a lot of venture capital firms, VCs, before you went with Pembroke?
I did. I must have spoken to about 20 investors, and was having very good conversations with a lot of them. And so it was just navigating. I guess it was whilst they were doing the due diligence on me, I was doing the due diligence on the investors. And I felt like that was really important because the advice I was given was, I'm not looking to grow the business at all costs. And so it was very much of, does the investors understand the vision and the passion that I'm going after? and the time frame that I'm going after. And so I really wanted to understand that from the investor's point of view, and whether we had that match. I felt like it was really, really important.
Yeah, it's about fit, isn't it? And I think that's very powerful that you saw that you were interviewing them as much as they were interviewing you.
Yeah.
So what made you decide to do the deal with Pembroke? What were the kind of factors that made you think these guys are a good fit for us?
Yeah. So speaking to Andrew, who from Pembroke, so he was fantastic. The moment I met him and had that meeting, we talked about nothing else, nothing about what I had been done before, where I'm going. It was all about the problems that we were facing in terms of the e-commerce sort of world, and the passions that I was speaking about, and how we wanted to change. And well, that cemented it for me, because I thought, wow, someone is truly understanding where we want to go and what we're trying to change. And then knowing that Pembroke has an enormous amount of help, and they are, they're there to support the founders in any way, and they didn't worry too much about historical data, but actually, what the next steps were. And that was really powerful for me, because I wanted to still be in the driving seat. I didn't want someone else to dictate where I should go. And so that was one of those deciding factors. And the other deciding factor was Pembroke is a great fund. They have one of the most female funded sort of companies. And so I felt like that really resonated on that side of sort of that checked that box as well.
Yes. Yeah. I remember, I mean, when I got VC funding for my last business, which was from Venrex, one of the things I loved about them was that actually 50% of their portfolio were female-led businesses, which, and this is going back some years now, was really rare. And that I just felt very welcomed and very listened to. Never patronized. Those are the things that I think for female founders are stuff to really look out for, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So great. So wow. Okay. So you closed the deal with Pembroke November 2019, and then we hit 2020.
Yes.
So tell me, what was last year like for you, and from a business growth perspective, and what happened on the funding journey as a consequence?
Wow. So it was a whirlwind. So when we made the raise, when we closed the first round of 1 million with Pembroke in November, I had clearly said to Andrew, I was like, I'm going to focus on recruitment and scaling in January, because we're at Q4, it contributes to, it's all hands on deck. So we had that understanding. And so January was the day. So when it came January, we were like, okay, now let's grow the business. But then COVID hit. And we were like, okay, some challenges here. And what we noticed was even in January all the way up to May, we were seeing the sales tractions of our website go out of control. So we were looking at 800% month on month, particularly in the months of April and May, when sort of the first initial lockdown was announced. So there was a lot of firefighting. There was so much demand on our website that we could handle because of the limited restrictions of the warehouse, of the social distancing, and keeping our team safe. We moved the other team members in the office all virtually. So I was navigating all of that, the day to day, and then realizing, okay, we can't sustain this. We don't know how long this virus is going to be here for. And I needed to make a decision. I needed to not put off the recruitment that I had planned for in January. That didn't happen. And so in March, I spoke to Andrew, I spoke to the team, and I was like, I need further investment, because the current investment is taking up the opportunities we're seeing right now, but I still need that investment I need further investment to scale the team even bigger than I had planned, because of the growth. And so that was a real challenge.
Yeah. And an interesting conversation to have with your VC, isn't it? After just a few months of them being on board with you. But what I think is also interesting for other people to realize is how your valuation shifted in that time. So you did the round in 2019. on a valuation of 5 million, which in itself is a great valuation. So congratulations on that. Pembroke put in another million, and what was the valuation then?
So that doubled, which I was really proud of, because we had demonstrated that. I was able to prove that yes, we had this massive surge of sales, but that isn't a splash in the water. I saw all of the trends of people taking real care of well-being and mindfulness and the creativity side, and that macro trend is going to stay forever, because it's really the pandemic has really changed the way consumers behave and consume. So with that opportunity, I was able to go to Pembroke and be and sort of argue my case, but it's just I was really proud because the market pull was there. I had a really clear direction of where I wanted to take next, and of course, at Pembroke helped with sort of where the critical areas of growth I was needed, and so it was a team effort, I would say.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on that. I'm so excited for you. It's great to hear a positive story coming out of 2020. So, a couple of things just before we wrap up. What advice would you give to other female founders out there who are listening, thinking about going out for investment? What are your top tips for them?
So my top tip would be start with the why. So why are you doing your business? What fuels your passions? And once you know those passion points, that is the journey and narrative that will set you for your growth. And so really nailing that, and not looking at your competitors and looking at what they're doing. I mean, it's good to keep an eye and closer eye on what they're doing, but if you concentrate on your own why, then that will sort of pave your way to your own sort of success, and that would really sort of you'll be able to look at what areas you need to grow to achieve the solution you're trying to achieve. And so I would say that's my biggest tip.
Yeah, and I think especially in the early years, that's what investors want to hear about. You're talking about the story, aren't you? It's the dream that they're buying into, because at an early stage there's still so much risk that actually you have to have that why to see you through all of that. So that's really great advice. Thank you. So what's next? What is possibly next for you in 2021?
So I'm actually going through my Series A raise. So I'm preparing all of that and having conversations with investors still. But that
Series A, just for people who aren't familiar with Series A, is a bigger round, isn't it? So usually kind of 3 million plus. How much are you looking to raise?
Yeah, so we're looking for slightly more this round, and it will be between 5 to 10 mil. And that's really to capture the opportunities we have, not only in the UK but in the US, and sort of scale that business there.
Super exciting! Wow, some big challenges for you then, kind of going international. Wow, I love it. So that's really great. Well, we wish you all the best with getting this next funding round in. And growing the business. I'm literally, as soon as we finish this, I'm literally going to go and buy a craft kit, because I think I need something to do with my children in lockdown. And it's freezing cold at the moment, so maybe knitting myself a new scarf sounds like a really good idea.
It's the best thing to do, just ready for the snow that will come.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for your time, Jennifer. It's been really lovely to speak to you, and we will watch Stitch and Story with great interest as you continue to grow the business.
Thank you so much, Julia. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for following Fundraising Stories with Female Founders. This content is all provided to you for free, so if you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe so you never miss another one. Enter the Arena has helped hundreds of female founders fly through pre-raise and investment and onto the exponential growth of their business. Our first-hand experience, expert guidance, and proven programs help female founders unleash the Wonder Woman inside. To see if we can help you do the same, head over to www.enterthearena.co.uk. I'm Julia Elliott Brown, and I look forward to talking with you soon.